The stars looked different from Space Station Aurora. Captain Rachel Hayes noticed it first, how they seemed to dim one by one, like candles being blown out by an unseen wind. She pressed her hand against the observation deck's window, her breath fogging the reinforced glass as she watched Earth's night side. "Something's wrong," she whispered, more to herself than to the empty room. The usual city lights that mapped out civilization across the planet's surface were going dark, section by section. The station's comm system crackled to life. Captain Hayes to Command Center. "Emergency." Lieutenant Tom Barrett's voice carried an edge she'd never heard before. Rachel ran through the curved corridors, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The normal hum of the station's systems seemed muted, as if the very air was being sucked away. When she reached command, she found her crew frozen in horror at their stations. "Report," she ordered, forcing steadiness into her voice. Tom's fingers flew across his console. "We lost contact with Houston 5 minutes ago. Then New York. Now we're losing Beijing. It's like," he swallowed hard, "it's like something's eating the signals." On the main screen, communication lines winked out one after another. Rachel watched as the global network, humanity's pride and joy, crumbled like a sand castle in the tide. But worse than the failing signals was the silence. No distress calls, no warnings, just silence. "Getting some readings," called out Officer Penny Wilson from her station. "Massive objects entering atmosphere. They're absorbing everything. Heat, light, sound." Her voice cracked. "Even radio waves." Rachel leaned over the sensor display. The objects showed up as holes in space, perfect voids that consumed all energy around them. As they descended through the atmosphere, they left trails of absolute darkness. "Save everything," Rachel ordered. "Tom, start downloading all our data. Military protocols, defense systems, everything. Penny, get me any visuals you can." The crew worked frantically as the darkness spread across Earth's surface. Through the station's cameras, they watched cities vanish into shadow. The invaders, the Void Collective, as they would later be known, moved with terrible purpose, drawing all energy into themselves. Admiral Frank Cooper's face appeared on a private channel, his image breaking up with static. "Hayes, listen carefully. Mars colonies are still secure. Get your people out. Save what you can. Earth is." The transmission cut off. Rachel squared her shoulders. "Sound general evacuation. All personnel to escape pods." "Tom, how's that data transfer?" 70%. Need 5 more minutes." Sweat beaded on his forehead as his fingers raced across the keyboard. The station shuddered. Warning lights flashed as something massive passed nearby. Its presence felt more as an absence, a hole in reality that tugged at their senses. "They're coming for the station," Penny whispered. "They must know we're watching." Rachel activated the station-wide comm. "All hands, abandon station. This is not a drill. Get to Mars colonies. Repeat, abandon station immediately." She turned to Tom. "Time to go. Just another minute." Tom's eyes were locked on his screen as the progress bar crept forward. "Almost. Got it." He yanked a data core from his console and stuffed it in his pocket. The lights flickered. Darkness crept along the corridor outside command. Not like normal darkness, but something alive, hungry. Rachel could feel it trying to pull the words from her throat, the thoughts from her mind. "Move," she shouted, pushing Tom toward the emergency exit. They ran through dimming corridors, the darkness chasing them. Other crew members joined their flight, a stream of humanity rushing for the escape pods. Rachel made sure Tom got into a pod with the precious data core. She waited until the last of her crew was away before climbing into the final pod herself. As the airlock sealed, she looked back through the small window. The darkness had reached command. Where it touched, metal seemed to fade away, consumed by the void. The proud space station Aurora, humanity's eyes in orbit, was being devoured bite by bite. Rachel punched the launch controls. Her pod shot away from the dying station, joining a stream of others racing toward Mars. Behind them, Earth hung in space like a jewel being slowly covered in black velvet. But as her pod's engines pushed her toward safety, Rachel Hayes made a promise. This wasn't the end. Humanity wouldn't go quietly into this unnatural night. They would find a way to fight back. They would find a way to make these creatures fear the light again. The silence of space pressed in around her escape pod. But in that silence, rage began to burn, a fury that would eventually shatter the void itself. Dr. Laura Reed hadn't slept in 3 days. The Mars colony's lab was quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the tapping of her fingers on the keyboard. On her screen, wave patterns danced and shifted as she played back the recordings from Earth's final hours. "There has to be something here," she muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. The door slid open. Peter Russell, the colony's lead engineer, walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. His work clothes were stained with grease, and his red hair stuck up in all directions. "Still at it?" he asked, placing 1 cup next to her. Laura nodded, not taking her eyes off the screen. "Listen to this." She played a recording from Space Station Aurora's final moments. The usual static and background noise suddenly dropped away, replaced by an unnatural emptiness. Peter leaned closer. "That's when they showed up." "Yes, but watch this." Laura pulled up another window showing sound waves. Every time the Void Collective appears, they create perfect silence. Not just quiet. They remove all vibration. But look what happened when they passed near this mining station. She played another recording. A high-pitched whine filled the room, making Peter wince. On the screen, a dark shape retreated from the source of the sound. "They don't like that frequency," Peter said slowly, his eyes widening. "They don't just dislike it. It hurts them." Laura stood up and started pacing. These creatures feed on silence. They consume energy and create dead zones, but certain sound waves disrupt their ability to absorb energy. Peter set his coffee down, his mind already racing with ideas. "We could build something with that. A weapon, maybe. Something that generates focused sound waves." "My thoughts, exactly." Laura pulled up design sketches on another screen. "I'm calling it the Sonic Lance, but I'll need your help to build it." For the next week, they worked nonstop. Peter converted an old communications array into a sound projector, while Laura fine-tuned the frequencies. Other engineers joined them, adding their skills to the project. Even Admiral Cooper visited regularly, watching their progress with growing interest. The breakthrough came during a routine test. Peter had just finished adjusting the prototype when Laura noticed something strange on her readings. "The wave strength keeps changing," she said, frowning at her instruments. "It gets stronger when you're working on it, Peter, and not just a little. Significantly stronger." Peter looked up from the device. "What do you mean?" "Your emotions," Laura said slowly, a theory forming in her mind. "When you're focused, when you're feeling strongly about something, the sound waves become more powerful." They tested it immediately. Laura had Peter think about Earth, about his family that he'd lost. The readings spiked dramatically. When she thought about her own losses, her anger at the invasion, the wave strength nearly overloaded their sensors. Admiral Cooper arrived just as they were analyzing the results. His uniform was crisp despite the dusty Martian air, his presence bringing an immediate sense of authority to the lab. "Tell me you have something," he said. Laura nodded excitedly. "Better than we hoped. The Void Collective isn't just vulnerable to sound. They're vulnerable to sound amplified by human emotion. Our feelings, our passion, our anger, they make the weapon stronger." "How soon can you build a full-sized version?" Cooper asked. Peter studied his calculations. 2 weeks for a ship-mounted prototype. "But sir, if this works, we could build bigger ones. Maybe even large enough to defend the whole colony." Cooper's stern face showed the first smile anyone had seen since Earth fell. "Do it. I'll assign you whatever resources you need." As the Admiral left, Laura turned back to her work with renewed energy. On her screen, she pulled up the last image of Earth, now a dark sphere in space. Next to it, she placed a photo of her family. "We're coming," she whispered. "And we're bringing the noise." Peter squeezed her shoulder as he passed. Together, they worked through another long night, testing frequencies and calibrating equipment. The prototype sonic lance hummed on its stand, its power growing stronger with each adjustment. In the corridor outside, other colonists walked past the lab's windows. Some stopped to watch, hope growing in their eyes as they saw the scientists at work. For the first time since the evacuation, people began to whisper that maybe, just maybe, humanity had found a way to fight back. The silence would not last forever. And when it broke, the Void Collective would learn to fear the sound of human fury. Commander Diane Wells stood at the Mars Colony's Defense Center, her eyes fixed on the main screen. The dots approaching from space looked harmless, like falling stars. But she knew better. The Void Collective had found them. "All stations, report," she ordered, keeping her voice steady. "Sonic lance batteries 1 through 4 ready." Peter Russell's voice crackled through the comm. "Power levels at maximum. Research team standing by." Dr. Laura Reed added from her station. "Emotion sensors active." The colony's warning sirens began to wail. Through the thick windows of the command center, Diane watched colonists rushing to their assigned shelters. They had practiced this drill dozens of times, but this was real. "First contact in 5 minutes," reported the radar operator. They're bigger than the ones that hit Earth." Diane pressed the colony-wide communication button. "This is Commander Wells. All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." The approaching void ships cast long shadows across the Martian surface, darker than the darkest night. Where they passed, even the red dust of Mars seemed to lose its color. "They're trying to communicate," Laura called out. "Same pattern as Earth. They want our surrender." Diane's hands tightened on the command rail. "Not this time." "Peter, target the lid ship." "Laura, activate the emotion amplifiers." The newly installed sonic lance batteries turned toward the sky. They looked like massive speaker arrays, modified with Dr. Reed's latest technology. Each one was connected to a chamber where volunteers sat, their emotions being converted into extra power for the weapons. "Target locked," Peter confirmed. "Ready on your command." The void ships were closer now. The darkness they brought started to creep across the colony's outer dome, making the lights flicker. "Fire." The sonic lances came to life with a sound that was felt more than heard. Waves of visible energy pulsed from the weapons, carrying with them the concentrated fury of humanity. The lead void ship shuddered as the blast hit it. "Direct hit," Peter shouted. "They're pulling back." But the victory was short-lived. More void ships appeared, spreading out to surround the colony. The darkness grew deeper. "Power levels dropping," Laura warned. "The volunteers in the emotion chambers are getting exhausted." Diane made a quick decision. "Open my chamber," she ordered, already running toward the special room they had built next to the command center. "I'm going in." "Commander, wait," Laura called after her. "We haven't tested the neural load at command-level authority. It could be too much." But Diane was already sealing herself in the emotion chamber. The neural connectors attached automatically, linking her mind to the weapons system. She thought of Earth, of her home in the mountains, of everything they had lost. The effect was immediate. The sonic lances blazed with new power, their beams now tinged with red, the color of human rage. The void ships reeled back. "Incredible readings," Laura exclaimed. "The commander's emotional output is off the charts." Through her neural link, Diane could feel the weapons responding to her fury. She pushed harder, channeling every bit of anger and defiance she had kept bottled up since the fall of Earth. The void ships began to crack, their perfect darkness splitting under the assault. "All batteries, concentrate fire," Peter directed. "They're breaking." The combined blast hit the largest void ship dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent explosion, the ship shattered into fragments of darkness that quickly faded away. The remaining ships retreated, vanishing into space. When they pulled Diane from the emotion chamber, she was exhausted but smiling. "How many did we get?" "3 confirmed kills," Peter reported proudly. The others ran. "First time anyone's ever driven them off." Laura was already reviewing the data. "Commander, what you did in there, it changes everything. Your emotional output was 10 times stronger than our test subjects. If we can replicate that." "The Fury Protocol," Diane said, still catching her breath. "That's what we'll call it. Using our strongest emotions as a weapon." She looked at the now clear sky through the dome. "Get me Admiral Cooper. He needs to know we found a way to fight back. And more importantly," she smiled grimly, "we found a way to win." Across the colony, people emerged from their shelters. As news of the victory spread, cheers erupted. For the first time since the fall of Earth, humanity had stood its ground. The Void Collective had finally learned to fear those they had tried to silence. The real war was about to begin. Major Brian Foster sat in the new emotion amplification chamber, watching through its clear walls as technicians rushed around the massive chamber. The room was different from the older models. Bigger, with strange musical instruments built into the walls. Dr. Laura Reed had called it the Symphony Chamber. "Are you ready, Major?" Laura asked through the speaker. She stood at her control panel, worried eyes fixed on his vital signs. "Ready," Brian nodded, "just like we practiced." The chamber hummed to life. Brian closed his eyes as the neural links connected. But this time, something was different. Music began to play, soft at first, then building. The same song his daughter used to play on her piano, before the Void Collective took Earth. Peter Russell watched the power readings spike. "Doc, look at these numbers." Laura leaned forward excitedly. "It's working." The music is amplifying his emotional response even further. She turned up the volume slightly, adjusting the tune to match Brian's heartbeat. The entire defense grid of Mars Colony Beta lit up, powered by the combination of human emotion and music. The sonic lances hummed in harmony with the piano melody, creating a web of sound and feeling that stretched for miles. "Time to test it," Commander Wells said from the command center. "Launch the target drone." Outside, a small craft designed to mimic a void ship rose into the Martian sky. Brian focused his thoughts on it, letting the music fuel his determination. The defense grid responded instantly, sending out a blast that not only destroyed the drone, but created visible waves in the thin Martian atmosphere. "Power output is 300% higher than our previous best," Peter reported, his voice filled with awe. "The music, it's like it creates a perfect channel for human emotion." But suddenly, Brian's vital signs began to spike. The music grew more intense, matching his rising heart rate. "Something's coming," he gasped. "Something big." The warning sirens blared moments later. A massive void ship had appeared in orbit, larger than any they'd seen before. Its darkness began to spread across the Martian sky like spilled ink. "All colony personnel to battle stations," Commander Wells ordered. "This is what we trained for." Laura rushed to the symphony chamber. "Brian, we need to disconnect you. The power drain could be too much." "No." Brian's voice was firm. "We'll never get another chance like this. Upload the full symphony. All of it." Laura hesitated for just a second, then nodded. She typed rapidly on her console, loading the complete musical piece they'd prepared. A powerful symphony mixed with recordings of Earth's most moving songs. The music swelled through the chamber. Brian's mind filled with memories. His daughter's recitals, his wife's laugh, their home on Earth. The defense grid resonated with his emotions, each weapon adding its voice to the growing symphony. The void ship drew closer, its massive form blocking out the stars. But this time, humanity wasn't afraid. "Maximum power," Commander Wells ordered. The symphony chamber blazed with light as Brian poured everything he had into the defense grid. The music reached its crescendo, human instruments and emotions combining into something entirely new. The sonic lances fired as one, their beams carrying not just sound and fury, but humanity's very soul. The void ship tried to absorb the attack, but this was different from anything it had encountered. The music-enhanced emotional energy tore through its defenses, creating cracks in its perfect darkness. Light began to shine through the breaks in its hull. "It's working," Peter shouted. "The ship is breaking up." But in the symphony chamber, Brian was fading. The neural load was too much, even for him. "Keep playing," he whispered. The void ship exploded in a silent burst of darkness, its fragments scattering across space. But the victory came at a price. When they reached Brian, he was unconscious, a peaceful smile on his face. "He's alive," Laura reported after checking his vitals. But his mind, it touched something out there. Something changed. Later, in the medical bay, Brian opened his eyes. "I heard them," he said weakly. "When the music was playing, I could hear the void ships. They sing too, but their song is empty. That's why they fear us. Our music, our emotions, they fill the emptiness they can't stand." Commander Wells clasped his hand. "Rest, Major. You've given us more than a victory. You've given us a way to win this war." As Brian slept, the technicians began building more symphony chambers. Across the colony, people started bringing out instruments, sharing songs, remembering the music of Earth. They had found a new weapon, one that combined the best of human emotion and creativity. The void would never know silence again. Captain Emma Richards walked through the halls of the warship Thunder, her boots echoing on the metal floor. 6 months had passed since Major Brian Foster's discovery, and humanity had been busy. The Thunder wasn't just any ship. It was the first human vessel built specifically to fight the Void Collective. "Engine room report," she called into her comm unit. "All rage cannons at full power." Peter Russell's voice came back. He had personally overseen the installation of the new weapons. Symphony chambers 1 through 4 are ready. Emma entered the bridge, where her crew sat at their stations. The front window showed hundreds of other ships forming up around them. Operation Thunderclap was about to begin. "Message from Admiral Cooper," her communications officer said. "All ships report ready." Emma sat in her captain's chair and opened the ship-wide channel. "This is your captain speaking. Today we take the fight to them. Today we show them that humanity is done hiding." The fleet moved forward, led by the Thunder. Their target was Luna Base, Earth's moon, and the Void Collective's main staging area. Taking it back would give them a foothold for reclaiming Earth. "Void ships detected," reported the sensor officer. 5 large vessels moving to intercept. "They still think they can scare us with their darkness." Emma smiled. "Start the music." Through the ship's halls, a powerful melody began to play. In each symphony chamber, volunteers channeled their emotions into the ship's weapons. The rage cannons hummed in harmony with the music. The void ships approached, spreading their darkness ahead of them. Stars disappeared as the blackness reached toward the human fleet. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," Emma ordered. "Fire when ready." The Thunder's rage cannons opened up first. Beams of light, pulsing with the rhythm of the music and charged with human emotion, cut through space. The other ships joined in, their weapons adding to the symphony of destruction. The first void ship tried to absorb the attack, but the music-enhanced energy was too much. Cracks appeared in its surface, leaking light. Then it exploded, scattering fragments of darkness that quickly faded away. "Direct hit," cheered the weapons officer. 3 more incoming." Emma gripped her chair as the Thunder shook. The void ships were fighting back, trying to silence their music, to drain their energy. But humanity had learned from its defeats. "Rotate frequencies," she commanded. "Switch to Battle Symphony number 3. The music changed, becoming faster, more aggressive. In the symphony chambers, the volunteers focused on memories of Earth, of everything they had lost. The rage cannons blazed brighter. 2 more void ships fell. their perfect darkness shattered by humanity's fury. The remaining ships began to retreat, but Emma wasn't about to let them escape. Push forward. All ships, full power to the rage cannons. The human fleet surged ahead, their weapons creating a wall of light and sound that drove back the darkness. The void ships fled, vanishing into space. Luna base in sight, reported navigation. Minimal defenses remaining. Through the front window, Emma could see the moon. Its surface was covered in patches of unnatural darkness, where the Void Collective had built their bases. But not for long. All ships, form up, she ordered. Prepare for lunar assault. As they approached the moon, Emma thought about her home in Colorado, buried under the darkness that had swallowed Earth. She thought about her dog, her parents, her garden. The Void Collective had taken it all. Play the Earth Symphony, she said quietly. The music that filled the ship now was different, a piece created from recordings of Earth's sounds. City noises, bird songs, ocean waves, children laughing. Mixed together, they became something powerful enough to make several crew members wipe tears from their eyes. The fleet descended toward Luna Base, their weapons charged with the sounds of home. The few remaining void ships tried to stop them, but they were overwhelmed by the combination of music and memory. Luna Base defenses are down, reported Tactical. We have victory. Cheers erupted across the bridge, but Emma kept her eyes on the dark sphere of Earth hanging in space beyond the moon. This was just the beginning. They had their foothold now, their staging ground for the real battle. Send word to Admiral Cooper, she ordered. Luna Base is ours. Operation Thunderclap is a success. She stood up, looking at her tired but happy crew. And tell him we're ready for the next phase. It's time to take back our home. The music played on as humans set foot on the moon again, this time bringing with them a symphony of hope and vengeance. Earth's light would shine again. Admiral Frank Cooper stood in Luna Base's main control room, watching Earth through the reinforced windows. After 6 months of preparation, the dark planet still looked like a black marble in space. But today, that would change. Dr. Reed's team is ready, sir, Lieutenant Tom Barrett reported. The data cord he had saved from Space Station Aurora sat on the main console, finally unlocked and ready to use. Show me, Cooper ordered. The main screen lit up, showing the massive project they had built on the moon's surface. Hundreds of giant sonic lances and symphony chambers formed a circle, all pointing at Earth. Dr. Laura Reed called it the Earth Song Array. All stations report ready, Tom said. The fleet is in position. Cooper pressed the communication button. This is Admiral Cooper to all forces. Today we take back our home. On screens around the room, he could see the pieces falling into place. Captain Emma Richards' fleet hung in space, their ships forming a protective ring. Commander Diane Wells led the ground forces, ready in their dropships. Peter Russell managed the technical teams, checking and double-checking every system. Laura's face appeared on a screen. Admiral, the array is charged. We've loaded every sound we could find from Earth. Music, nature, cities, everything. Combined with the emotional output from our volunteers, it's the most powerful sonic weapon we've ever built. What about the ground team? Cooper asked. Tom brought up another screen showing Lieutenant Barrett's strike force. They carried portable symphony chambers and were ready to drop onto Earth's surface. Team is ready, sir, Tom reported. Once we land, we'll reactivate Earth's old defense grid. Dr. Reed says we can convert it to broadcast the Earth song worldwide. Cooper looked at the dark planet again. Somewhere down there, in the silence, the Void Collective's main force waited. They had to know this attack was coming, but they didn't know about the Earth Song Array. Begin the countdown, he ordered. All ships, battle positions. The huge array hummed to life. In hundreds of symphony chambers, volunteers focused their thoughts on Earth, on home, on everything they had lost. The combined sound of their emotions made the moon's surface vibrate. Void ships detected. Tom called out, massive fleet emerging from Earth's shadow. The enemy ships rose like a wave of darkness, thousands of them, more than they had ever seen before. They moved to surround the human fleet, trying to cut them off from Earth. "They took our silence once," Cooper said firmly. "They won't do it again." Captain Richards, engage the enemy. Dr. Reed, start the array. Lieutenant Barrett, launch your dropships. Commander Wells, prepare for ground assault. The battle erupted in silence, but not for long. The Earth Song Array fired its first blast, a concentrated beam of sound and emotion that cut through space. Where it hit the void ships, their darkness cracked and splintered. "Direct hit," Laura reported excitedly. "The array is working." The human fleet moved forward, their rage cannons adding to the symphony. Music filled every ship, every weapon, every heart. The void ships tried to absorb it, but there was too much emotion, too much sound, too much life. "Drop ships away," Tom reported. "Ground team is heading for the surface." Cooper watched as the small ships carrying Barrett's team slipped through the chaos of battle. They carried humanity's hope with them, the key to awakening Earth's sleeping defenses. The Void Collective's ships fought back desperately, trying to maintain their grip on Earth. But with each passing minute, more of their ships fell. The Earth Song Array kept firing, its beams growing stronger as more volunteers joined their emotions to its power. "Sir," Tom said suddenly, "look at Earth." Through the darkness covering the planet, small points of light had begun to appear. The ground team was succeeding. Earth's old defense systems were waking up, adding their voice to the symphony. "Send the signal," Cooper ordered. "All forces, push forward. We're going home." The battle wasn't over, far from it. But as Admiral Cooper watched his forces advance toward the brightening Earth, he knew humanity had found its strength, not in silence, but in sound. Not in darkness, but in light. Not in fear, but in fury. The Void Collective had thought they could silence humanity. Instead, they had taught them to sing louder than ever before. The battle for Earth entered its final hour. Lieutenant Tom Barrett stood in the ruins of the old Global Defense Center in Colorado, his hands flying over the restored control panel. Around him, his team fought to keep the portable symphony chambers running while void creatures tried to break through their defenses. "Main grid at 60%. He shouted into his comm. "Just need a few more minutes." Above, in orbit, Captain Emma Richards' ship Thunder led the assault on the Void Collective's main vessel, a massive thing that looked like a tear in space itself. The Earth Song Array on the moon fired again and again, each blast weakening the enemy's hold on their conquered world. "We're almost through," Emma called to her crew as another blast from their rage cannon struck home. "Keep playing the music." The symphony chambers on her ship pulsed with power. The volunteers inside them poured every emotion they had into the weapons: love, anger, hope, loss, all mixed with the sounds of Earth. Each blast carried their fury at what had been taken from them. In the lunar control room, Admiral Cooper and Dr. Laura Reed watched the battle unfold. The main screen showed Tom's team making progress on the surface, while Emma's fleet pushed the void ships back. "Tom," Laura spoke into her comm, "when the grid reaches full power, you need to synchronize it with the array. The timing has to be perfect." On Earth, Tom nodded, sweat running down his face. "Ready when you are, Doc." The void creatures were getting closer to their position. Commander Diane Wells and her ground forces held them back, portable sonic lances blazing with light and sound. "We can't hold much longer," Diane warned. "Whatever you're going to do it now." Tom's fingers danced across the controls. "Grid at 90%. Start the countdown." Laura began the sequence. The Earth Song Array powered up to maximum, drawing on the emotions of hundreds of volunteers. Every symphony chamber on every ship, every rage cannon, every sonic lance prepared to fire at once. "All forces," Admiral Cooper's voice rang out, "prepare for final barrage. Captain Richards, clear your ships from the target zone." Emma ordered her fleet to pull back. The massive void ship tried to follow, but the damage it had taken made it slow. It hung there in space, directly between the moon and Earth, exactly where they wanted it. "Grid at full power," Tom shouted. His team cheered despite their exhaustion. "Array at maximum charge," Laura reported. "Synchronizing now." "All units," Cooper commanded. "Fire." Everything happened at once. The Earth Song Array fired a beam more powerful than anything they had ever created. At the same moment, Earth's defense grid came alive, sending columns of light into space. The human fleet added their fire, every weapon charged with music and emotion. The void ship tried to absorb the attack, but this was different. This wasn't just sound or light or emotion. This was everything humanity had left to give. The ship's perfect darkness began to crack. "Keep firing," Emma ordered as her ship's systems started to overheat. "Hold the line," Diane shouted to her ground troops as they poured everything into their weapons. "Almost there," Tom yelled as the defense grid blazed with power. The void ship's surface split open, light pouring from the cracks. Inside, they caught glimpses of impossible spaces, of the nothingness that had tried to consume their world. But humanity's light filled that nothingness. Humanity's sound shattered that silence. With a flash that lit up the entire solar system, the void ship exploded. The blast wave rippled across Earth, dissolving the darkness that had covered the planet. Everywhere it passed, light and sound returned. The remaining void ships fled, their darkness breaking apart as Earth's atmosphere filled with sound once again. Birds began to sing. Wind rustled through trees. Cities hummed back to life. In the Global Defense Center, Tom slumped against the console, exhausted but smiling. Outside, sunlight streamed through the windows for the first time in 2 years. On the Thunder, Emma watched Earth's blue and green colors return. Her crew stood in silence, not the empty silence of the void, but the peaceful silence of victory. In the lunar control room, Admiral Cooper put his hand on Laura's shoulder. "Send the message," he said quietly. "Earth is free." The news spread across Mars, across the colonies, across every human outpost. They had done it. They had turned their pain into power, their fury into freedom, their despair into victory. Humanity had not just survived, they had learned to fight back. The universe would remember this. When the darkness came to Earth, humanity's fury had shattered the silence, and they would never be silenced again.